Well, he was a scout for 3 different teams. Now he's one of the radio voices of the Chargers. He's on the NFL Network, highly respected. DJ Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network analyst. Got a podcast, Move the Sticks, with Bucky Brooks, one of our buddies. We want to talk NFL. I want to start with the Chargers because you do their broadcast. You know this team very well. And I said this a couple weeks ago. They should have beaten Miami. The Chargers historically make us sweat for even the good games, so that's just kind of part of their identity. But tell people who have not watched Justin Herbert, I do believe that this is the kind of thing you can see because you're up above, you're watching the entire field. What has Kellen Moore done for Justin that as a former scout and somebody that watches game film that maybe the casual fan wouldn't see?
He's given a lot of freedom, Colin. He's put a lot on his plate. They're running with more tempo. They're getting to the line of scrimmage. And that, people see tempo. It's like, oh, we're trying to get the defense on their heels and they can't communicate. No, sometimes it's get up to the line of scrimmage so we can let our incredibly bright quarterbacks survey the landscape and get us into the proper play. So he's given him more control there. And then, they're also, because the offensive line is healthier with Rashawn Slater, they're picking their spots, but then they're able to get some of these chunk plays back in the offense. You saw it last week to end the game to Josh Palmer. So it's been a really good marriage between those two guys. And I think you've seen over the last 2 weeks that Justin's starting to use his legs a little bit more too.
Yes.
Which can take this offense to a whole nother level.
Okay, so you were a scout and a very successful one. There's this kid who I saw play in college at BYU in Washington named Puka Nacua. Now, people think Cooper Kupp was like an under-the-radar player, but he wasn't. Everybody in the league, the Chargers and the Rams, both liked him because I've talked to both GMs. Everybody liked Cooper Kupp. Puka Nacua had been banged up. Was he fast enough? He is shattering NFL records. What do you make of it? 5th round, shattering records.
Well, I'll tell you, Colin, we saw him at the Senior Bowl, and the first day of practice, nobody could cover him. In fact, if you went back and listened to the broadcast, I even said this reminded me of Cooper Kupp at the Senior Bowl, where he came in there and you're like, I don't know, he's not really fast, but man, he's got a ton of production. He's really kind of instinctive. How will he do in one-on-ones? And then nobody could cover Cooper. Well, the first day, Puka Nacua did the exact same thing. And then unfortunately, he got hobbled and couldn't participate in the rest of the week. So I think if he had been able to finish out that week the way it was headed, I think you would have seen more attention go his way. But I'll give TJ Houshmandzadeh a lot of credit as well because he worked with him and Michael Wilson. Those are the 2 guys he really, really spent a lot of time with in the run-up to the draft. And when TJ gives you his stamp on a guy, it means something. He did the same thing with T. Higgins when he was coming out. And this kid he's ready to play, man. He's been rolling. Guy's leading the league in receptions. It's incredible.
C.J. Stroud is another TJ Houshmandzadeh gem. So I had heard his comp, and I trust the scouts who tell me this, he was Jared Goff, maybe with a little more mobility. Well, that's a heck of a comp. Jared Goff has never been embraced. He's a really good quarterback. There's not 12 guys in the world better. Are you surprised, though, with a banged-up O-line, that he's been error-free? I will say this. I'm not a scout, Daniel, but he does see the field. Like, I watch him play, very composed. What was your grade? Are you shocked he's this good this early?
I thought he had a chance to be a really good player. Now, I don't think anybody would have seen the early success that they've had on that team, missing the pieces that they're missing. But, you go back to the Combine. I said at the Combine, this is the best throwing session I've ever seen at the Combine setting. And it wasn't because, I've seen guys throw it further than him. I've seen guys throw with more velocity. But every throw was pinpoint accurate. It had the right trajectory. It had the right pace. He's just a naturally gifted thrower. Now, you go back in the draft process, Colin, it was like, oh, okay, I don't know how athletic he is. And then the Georgia game comes along and he showed you he could get out of some trouble when they're playing against better players and kind of answered that question. So, I guess we shouldn't be surprised that he's having success because he's just – the game is slow for him. He plays with poise. He plays with a certain calm. But, Colin, no interceptions and what he's doing, making that team competitive each and every week, I don't think anybody could foresee that coming.
Okay, we know Caleb Williams is going to be the number 1 pick. I counted again this morning. There's 8 or 9 teams that I know are going to draft quarterbacks, 5 or 6 in the first round. The kid that's interesting that a lot of the country's not seeing because Washington is geographically up in the corner and because USC and Oregon steal so much of the love in the Pac-12 is Michael Penix. He's got a great coach, two NFL receivers. For those who haven't seen Mike, I think he throws the prettiest ball of all the quarterbacks I've seen. You've looked at film. You're breaking him down as a former scout. What do you make of him?
Well, first of all, he's like a different human being from the one we saw as a young player at Indiana, where he was running around making plays with his legs. This is a sturdy 225-pound pocket passer. He's got that little three-quarter delivery release, Colin. The ball absolutely jumps out of his hand. I mean, he can really, really drive the football. You watch the Michigan State game. He's 5 yards deep in the end zone, hanging on his back foot. And he throws a post over the 50-yard line, just easy. So he's got a huge arm. He's seeing the whole field. You talk about, working left to right and full field reads. He shows you that he can do that. And he's older. He's more mature. And I think that's one of the components. If you look at guys that are having success early on, for the most part, they've played a lot of football. They've got a lot of snaps under their belt. And he's gonna enter the league in a very experienced quarterback, maybe a little older. You got to navigate around some of the health issues, the injury issues, do your homework there. But Colin, he's a first-round pick all day. Every day.
So Drake May is as well. Didn't play quite as well early. And again, sometimes at Carolina, you're not going to get the publicity of a Notre Dame quarterback, USC, Georgia, whatever. I saw him last year. And my takeaway is big, moves well, good arm, all the traits you want. Anything I should look for with Drake May, who many suspect could be the second player picked after Caleb.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's the second guy. I was bummed out when his receiver, they couldn't get him eligible, and Mac Brown, made his feelings pretty well known on that one. So he doesn't have an all-star cast that he's throwing the rock to. Josh Downs was there last year. He's gone. But everything you want, the checklist, big, athletic, can make every throw. He's good in clutch moments. He beat my alma mater in overtime in a really close game this year against App State, where he kind of made the plays that he needed to make. To me, he's a prototype. He's not a hard one to scout, Colin.
Yeah. Finally, we know Caleb's going number one if healthy. I am not bothered. So I said this yesterday. There's been 3 stages of player empowerment in the last couple of years. Players missing bowl games, stars. I was okay with it, especially running backs. Transfer portal explosion. I'm okay with it. Coaches move all the time. NIL. I'm okay with it. The 4th stage, and this will make people really uncomfortable, is a star quarterback every few years saying, yeah, I'm not playing for that NFL team. There are rumors that Caleb and his dad are like Arizona, Chicago, Giants. No thanks. It doesn't bother me. Elway, Eli Manning. How do you, as somebody that's knows the college game and works in the pro game, how do you think that plays to NFL people?
Well, it's hard because there's only ever so often you're going to get somebody of that caliber that could try and maybe pull that type of a move. But I feel like it's been discussed with players in the past. We talked about it with Joe Burrow, right? He's, maybe he's the one. He's not going to want to go to Cincinnati. And then I think Joe Burrow going to Cincinnati, taking them to a Super Bowl, multiple AFC championship games, has proven that, look, there's so much parity in the NFL. If you're that guy, if you're that good, if you're Caleb Williams, you have all this ability, which he does. He can go in there and change any of these organizations. So I don't know if there will be follow through there. The only difference now is that he's in a situation with some of the NIL money that he has maybe a little more leverage on his side than anybody in history has had.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.